Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie?
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9,
WORD.
the voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome to the program on your Monday afternoon. Boy, I tell you what, I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. I hope it was the best Christmas that you can remember in a long, long time. We had a great one at the house. All of my shortbread cookies were fantastic. Made steak and ale pie for Christmas Day. It was so good. Sheila and I had a wonderful Christmas. Went downtown Christmas Eve. Went downtown. I forget what we were doing. I think we took the pups downtown. I can't remember what we were doing down there. But went downtown Christmas Eve. And there were, believe it or not, on the day before Christmas, there were a bunch of these owls, the old white liberals, out there protesting on Main Street. And I was fascinated. I really was. That they would have nothing better to do during the Christmas holidays than to get out there and protest a supposed king that they keep chiming in on. So, I tell you what. But then again, if you got nothing to protest and you're retired and you got nothing but time on your hands, getting out there and protesting might be a good idea. But I hope you guys had a fantastic Christmas and are looking forward to 2026. We've got a little bit of information coming up for you in just a second about what 2026 might look like. It's very interesting. It's got to do with the price of silver, strangely enough, but we'll tell you about that coming up in just a second. Well, I guess the big news over the weekend, and the one that I was the most fascinated with, is all of this information coming from the journalist Nick Shirley on all of these. I mean, good grief, the amount of fraud that is going on in the Somali community is absolutely mind-boggling. So not only were they defrauding taxpayers with these so-called Somali autism centers, it's just been unbelievable. And now we find out that they're defrauding people even more with these so-called learning centers, these daycare centers that they were supposed to be running. So Nick Shirley, he goes up to some of these learning centers, daycare centers, and he's asking one question. The question was, where are all the kids? You say you've got this many kids in this daycare center, but there are no kids here. Why are there no reasonable explanation. Certainly not because of Christmas, because they don't serve, they don't recognize Christmas. So the question, where are all these people? Well, this has gotten the attention of a lot of people out there, and rightfully so. Here is Senator Ron Johnson talking about it.
First of all, we need to put all kinds of pressure on the state agencies to give us their records. Now, I'm chairman of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. This will be a primary focus of ours. We're already reaching out to Nick Shirley and David and other people who can provide testimony for this, but we also need documents. So, these agency heads who funnel the federal money to the state agencies, they have to demand that the state agencies are transparent. And unfortunately, particularly in Democrat-controlled states, they're not. They're refusing to turn over those records. I've got subpoena power. I will use that subpoena power to obtain these records because we have to get to the bottom of this. Understand, Somalis have just been in this country a few years. They're amateurs when it comes to fleecing the federal government. And let's face it, the federal government is probably the easiest consumer, the easiest payer to fleece, and states do it time and time again. So this is just the tip of the iceberg.
And he's absolutely right. And what he meant there by their amateurs, just think about this. If they've only been here a few years and they have learned how to game the system to the tune of upwards to $18 billion in Minnesota, just imagine what other people are doing. And we also know now that a lot of this money that they were fleecing, where was that money going to? That money was going to Somali candidates that were running in Minnesota. Can anybody think of Ilhan Omar? Could you think of somebody like that? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Ilhan Omar, now her husband's got this website. He's a multi-billionaire. And all of a sudden they start taking any reference to her off of the website. Listen, folks, I think this is just right now it's a little bitty snowball, and it's rolling downhill. And as it rolls and rolls and it gets bigger and bigger, this is going to become an avalanche. Now, remember, it's $18 billion. $18 billion, minimum $18 billion. Imagine what it's going to be once we get to the absolute bottom of this. So now the FBI is getting involved. And here's the weird thing. ICE has almost nothing to do with this because these people were here legally under Joe Biden. Legally. And Obama. Legally. So this isn't an ICE issue. But it is absolutely an FBI issue. Well, and it's also an issue for the Small Business Administration. They have now cut off all of Minnesota. Small Business Association Administrator Kelly Loeffler says that she is disgusted and sickened by the expose of Somali small business fraud and has taken immediate action. SBA is cutting off and clawing back all SBA grants to Minnesota effective immediately. She says this is due to Tim Walz's refusal to enforce laws governing small businesses and the governor's allowance and facilitation of fraud. Loeffler says that SBA was able to uncover $500 million of fraud within days. Did I say 18? No, it's more than that. She says that the Trump administration will focus on the state officials who built the industrial-scale crime ring to rip off hardworking Americans. But it's even more than that because they are stealing money from people and from children who should have rightfully been getting these funds. This money was supposed to be going to these people, but they are not. They're going to these fraudsters. And how much? But now, what's going on in the mainstream media? They deny it's even happening. No, this is not even happening. This is a Somali fraud is not even real. It's not, you shouldn't pay attention to all of this. This is just a couple of, oh boy. And if you think things are bad in Minnesota, hold on to your hats for just a second. Let's go to Jeff in Greenwood. Jeff, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, bud.
Hope you had a good Christmas.
I did. I hope you did too, man.
Yes, sir. This could be the beginning of the end of Omar's political career, but she'll never serve time for this. She'll drop that dude if she's even legally married to him.
Yeah.
She'll head back to Somalia and collect her money from the Cayman Island accounts. Guarantee you.
Yeah, you're probably
Never serve
right.
time.
Yeah, you might be right about that, Jeff, but I appreciate it. But wouldn't you love to see it? Wouldn't you love to see her and many, many others go to jail? Well, coming up, we have got the new year, 2026. And I know there are going to be balls dropping all over the place and everybody's going to be celebrating. But I believe that all eyes are going to be on New York City, and not just because of Times Square. We'll tell you about that coming up next. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Grit, truth, and a whole lot of common sense. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. Connect on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. Text or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, here's a little trivia question for you. Are you ready? What do these cities have in common? Paris, Tokyo, Belgrade, Hong Kong, Sydney, Denpasar, that's in Bali, Jakarta, and Venice. What do all of those cities have in common? Oh, they have either canceled or dramatically scaled back their New Year's Eve celebrations. Now, in Paris, they've always got this great the concerts and fireworks over there, the Champs-Élysées. They shoot the fireworks off the Eiffel Tower. You can go to Trocadero there and watch the whole thing. It's absolutely fantastic. But they're not going to be doing that this year. No. They're saying you need to, you should stay home and watch it on the television. Yes, it's for your safety. But what they won't admit is the reason why. Because there are threats. Threats from whom? The folks on the right? Are they threats from conservatives? No. They're threats from radical Islam. Pure and simple. Now, they won't admit it because, they can't be seen as being Islamophobic. So they won't admit it. No. It's just out of caution. Well, caution for what? Well, it's out of caution. Okay, but caution for what? Well, we're just being cautious. Okay, you're not going to say it, are you? Nope, we're being cautious. We just want to be cautious without making anybody mad. But it's not just those cities, not just cities around the world. Let's take a listen to this.
Chicago officials are sounding the alarm ahead of New Year's Eve. Law enforcement agencies warning this week that large celebrations, including fireworks events, could be an attractive target for terrorists, saying there are no specific threats, but they are monitoring risks such as vehicle ramming attacks or the use of drones. And in New Orleans, city officials are requesting heightened security after the FBI stopped a threat targeting Border Patrol agents. Authorities say the suspect is allegedly affiliated with an extremist group known as Turtle Island Liberation Front, the same group tied to an alleged New Year's Eve bomb plot in Southern California. 4 alleged members of the group have been charged with conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction, providing and attempting to provide material support to terrorists, and possession of unregistered firearms. According to court documents, the defendants described plans they intended to implement following the New Year's Eve bombings, including their plans to target U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents, and vehicles with firearms and pipe bombs to take some of them out and scare the rest of them. And overseas, 7 countries are canceling their New Year's Eve plans, citing safety concerns. Let's bring in retired NYPD officer.
I don't think that. So, yeah, just say it. The radical leftist, the radical Islamist, they are absolutely winning. And if you ever want to wonder about, well, how could Sharia law ever take over in this country? How could we ever fall to Sharia law? Certainly we got all these. Well, this is how. This is exactly how. That's what terrorism is designed to do. And even the threat of terrorism, that's its intention. So now what do we got coming up on January the 1st? Well, we've got Zohran Mamdani going to be the mayor of New York City. Earlier this week, Zohran Mamdani tapped retired chief of EMS services, Lilian Bosignore. Lilian Bosignore to be the fire chief, the head of the nation's largest fire department. Do you know how much firefighting experience this woman has? 0. Absolutely none. She knows nothing about firefighting, never fought a fire. She was appointed this position because she is an openly gay woman who supports the trans agenda completely. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen in New York. I predict this. I predict 2026, you're going to see a massive exodus in the New York City Police Department. I think you're going to see people taking early retirement. I think you're going to see people outright quitting. And I think you're going to see crime skyrocket if they actually report the crimes that are going on. And then when you go look on the fire side, I believe you're going to see fire chiefs in departments all over the city quitting. I think you're going to see firefighters taking early retirement. I think you're going to see a mass exodus there too. I believe 2026 is absolutely going to be disastrous for New York City under Zohran Mamdani. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let's go to Wes in Greer. Wes, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
I'm 55 years old, and I love to, get into Roman history and just, old history, okay? And I don't think there's anything ever been said, Charlie, that what goes around comes back around. It's just a question of when.
Yeah.
I mean, study up on the Crusades, okay? A certain demographic of people began to work their way out of the Middle East, okay, and work their way into Europe. And what did they do when they got there? They killed the infidels, okay? They did what they've been doing for thousands of years, which made the Pope issue the decree. I don't think the Pope and all those people just decided to just get up and try to run them all the way back to Jerusalem. History, they come back, we come back. I hate to say this, but they're going to do what they have always done. And sooner or later, it will be bad enough that we're even the stupidest human beings among us will finally get off their duff and will counter it. But the question is going to be, how far will they make it, and how many people will they murder, and how many stupid Democrats will they convince to march with them along their crusade before people like me and you stand up and say no and write it, or my kids. But it will be right.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It will be right.
You are absolutely right.
What will be the cost and bloodshed and treasure? But, Nick, you're telling me that Mamdani, that those people could sit there and elect that man in the state, in the town where 4,000 people were incinerated while certain demographics of people paraded in the street?
Yeah.
Okay?
Never forget, right? Never forget. But it only took 24 years. I appreciate it, Wes. 24 years and New York City forgot completely. 24 years. They are in England and other places getting ready to go to war with Russia for some reason. And they're asking the young men to sign up for the military. Boris Johnson did a video the other day urging young people to sign up for the military, young men. And it was a great theory that somebody came up with that I read over the weekend that said what they want to happen. Well, first of all, before we get to that, my question is, are all these immigrants over in England going to sign up for the military? All these immigrants that came in, are they going to be signing up to defend the nation that they immigrated to? No, absolutely not. It's only going to be the natural-born citizens of England that are going to be signing up and going to war. What a great way to erase a generation and replace a generation. Oh, yeah. It's a globalist dream, y'all. It really is, and it's happening right before our eyes. When we get back, what's going on with the price of silver, and what does it mean? Well, we'll tell you about it. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of nonstop breaking news and stimulating talk jumpstarts every hour on the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas. Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Well, yesterday, silver hit $80 an ounce. That was pretty significant. And if you own silver, you were probably like, yeah, that's awesome. And it was good. It's down to $70 an ounce today. But, I mean, that was a pretty good spike. And then, of course, you get people selling off and all that stuff, and the price goes down. But there were some people out there that were very concerned about the fairly rapid rise in the price of silver. And rightfully so. Rightfully so in some cases. Now, if you look at things like gold and silver, a lot of times when those prices start going up, it means something. And it means people are trying to, well, first of all, it means in some cases that the dollar might be weakening. So when the dollar loses purchasing power, it takes more dollars to buy the same ounce of silver, and that makes silver appear to be more expensive. Silver, gold, precious metals are often also seen as a hedge on inflation. Investors will go in, they'll buy silver when they think that their cash will be worth less in the future. And then some investors out there looking for hard assets. A surge in silver demand can mean investors want something tangible rather than paper assets or currency. So in some cases, it does say something about the dollar weakening. But when you look at all of the other factors that we've got going on, you have to wonder if that's the case. Well, here's Scott Bessent talking about it.
I would categorize 2025. We had some important victories, some important policy announcements, some important movement. But as I've described it, 2025 was setting the table. And especially on the economy, I think the feast and the banquet's going to be in 2026.
Feast and the banquet. Overall, I mean, inflation, the number ending the year for inflation was great, 2.7%. Mm-hmm. What's still out there is the Supreme Court weighing in on tariffs. What do you think about 2026?
Well, the tariff announcement is certainly going to be consequential.
And it's going to be big. So Scott Bessent is saying we're going to get the largest tax refund ever. We've got a record $200 billion in tariff revenue. Inflation has cooled off to 2.7%. Remember, it was up to 9% under Joe Biden. Probably even more than that. And our gross domestic product, the GDP, is up 4.3%. Now, all of those are very good economic indicators. Very, very good. So then you got to wonder, so we'll go back to silver here for a second. What is going on with the price of silver? Well, that might actually have something to do with data centers. Might actually have that. We've got data centers going up all over the place. Everybody's in on the AI craze. They're putting up these data centers everywhere left and right. Silver is used because it's got the highest electrical conductivity. They got silver-plated connectors, silver-plated contacts, switch gears, relays, bus bars, high-current contact points. Silver is also made in circuitry and semiconductors, solder and silver-based pastes, high-performance connectors. Silver is also used for heat management in these huge data centers, which is always the biggest problem with that kind of data. Silver has excellent thermal conductivity, and it helps dissipate heat from the processors and the power units. It's also used in data transmission and signal integrity. So silver isn't the biggest material that's used by data centers, but it is a very important material used by data centers. So just because you see, and I even saw there was one little blurb late yesterday afternoon that said that a bank had folded yesterday. It was a major bank, and this major bank just went under, but it got bailed out by the Fed to the tune of some billions of dollars. I think $1.7 billion or something like that, maybe more. But then I started looking at other places, and I thought, well, I can't find anything on this story. So why, if a bank failed, would they actually not tell you which bank failed? Well, truth is, it probably didn't happen. And these were just a lot of people out there. They're trying to throw these stories out there to kind of make you panic a little bit and thinking that our economy is not doing as well as it is, but it is doing fantastic right now. So I saw yesterday gas $2.29 a gallon. And I'm not talking about at Costco or Sam's. $2.29 a gallon. Somebody posted this morning that they had gas $2.15 a gallon at Costco. That's pretty darn good. So like Scott Bessent said, setting the table in 2025, the banquet is going to come in 2026. Now, a lot of this is going to have to do with what the Supreme Court decides about Donald Trump's ability to impose these tariffs. But everybody was screaming, oh, these tariffs are taxes on the American consumer. Oh, these tariffs. Well, hasn't really turned out to be that way. Not in the amount that they were saying. And I'll give you a great example. Our gross domestic product went up 4.3%. Canada's gross domestic product went down 1.7%. That's pretty amazing. So we are literally winning the tariff war as far as the economy is going. I mean, $200 billion because of tariffs? That's pretty amazing. It really is. So, but again, a lot of factors could happen between then and, whatever we see. The Supreme Court could come along and say no to Trump's tariffs and say, no, this has got to be through Congress or whatever. And we know that won't happen, right? So we'll see. But speaking of Congress, what they're going to have to do is get off their duffs and pass President Trump's agenda. And that's going to require them to do away with the filibuster. I had a conversation about this the other night. I've heard good and bad things. No. If the Democrats get back in power, no, we'll say when the Democrats get back in power, because it will happen eventually, they will do away with the filibuster. That will be day one that they will get rid of the filibuster. Day one. Well, it'll be late in day one. Day one, first thing would be to undo all of Donald Trump's executive orders, render all of them null and void. Then they'll get rid of the tariffs. Then they'll get rid of the filibuster and pass all of their legislation through lickety-split. Meanwhile, we've got over 100 bills sitting in the Senate going nowhere because John Thune will not let the bills hit the House floor because he knows he's got to get 60 votes. Now, if you want to really do away with a lot of these shenanigans, then what you need to do is do away with what they call the zombie filibuster. All right? So, it used to be, and we all remember Strom Thurmond, 24 hours, remember all of that. You would actually have to get up and debate. So in order to, quote unquote, save time, they said, here's what we'll do. You guys don't like it. We like this bill. All right, 60 votes, and then it'll pass. All you got to do is get up there, John Thune, and say, hey, from now on, if you want to filibuster a bill, you have to actually filibuster the bill. Stand in the well of the Senate and speak for however long it takes. And we'll see how that goes. But something's going to have to be done. Because John Thune has literally wasted a year of Trump's presidency. Now, whether or not that was by necessity or by design, I think it was by design. We'll have to see. But something's got to change in 2026. It really, really does. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
You've stepped into the Upstate Talk Octagon. A few left jabs and a lot of right uppercuts. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas. Let your fingers do the talking.
Text the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line at 800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, we just talked about data centers just a few minutes ago. There is going to be an online forum tonight put on by Palmetto State Watch. They are hosting a discussion on data centers that are just flooding into South Carolina. And I mean, oh my gosh, seriously. When you look at how much taxpayer dollars are going to these industries, still got to go back and talk about Scout Motors down in Blythewood, still got to talk about them. How much money, between $1.4 and $1.7 billion, our taxpayers gave to Scout Motors and Volkswagen, and how much control and leverage they have over our state legislature. I mean, that is not the way to run a state. It truly isn't. So coming up this year, starting January 2nd, I would imagine, that's when the political season is really going to start heating up. All these folks are going to start vetting candidates. People are going to start deciding whether or not they're going to run. We've got the primaries coming up in June. And the one thing that we need to make sure of is that we get a very conservative state house and Senate down in down in Columbia. Because the way we've been operating over the past, decades is not serving the people of South Carolina well. It's hurting us. Our roads are crumbling. Our infrastructure is subpar. Our bridges are dangerous at best. But yet nobody wants to do anything about it. Oh, they always run on it, though. House or Senate, they always talk about what they're going to do about our roads, but nothing ever gets done. Where is this done that they keep talking about? Well, if you actually fixed the roads in South Carolina, if you fixed our bridges, and yes, they have the money to do it, then guess what? You wouldn't have anything to run on. There would be nothing to put on the flyer, nothing to put on the ad, nothing. Well, I hope that what we saw the other night with Lee Bright, Diane Mitchell, and John Lastinger, I hope that continues in Columbia throughout 2026, where we had good, strong conservative people in there taking some of the seats away from these rhinos in Columbia because they need to have their seat taken away. Big time. Because they are there to serve themselves. That's it, pure and simple. They don't go to work with that little $10,000 a year job because they're there to serve you. They're there to look after themselves. That's why they want to take all the people that are blocking. Well, let me just go back to Curtis Loftus. The reason they want Curtis Loftus out is because he's the only one standing between them and the money. And they want to stand close to that money because they know that just by standing close to that money, they're going to get money as well. That's just the way things work down in Columbia. So you need to make a New Year's resolution that you're going to vote in every single election. I don't care if it's Soil and Water Commission. I don't care if it's dog catcher. I don't care if it's school board, library. I don't care what it is. You're going to vote in every single election because we can make the change that we want to see. But if we want to make the change, we've got to be the change. Now, those people down in Columbia are counting on you staying home. These races that we had in Senate 12, House 21, House 88, yeah, they were good wins. But the Democrats, they should have been bigger. They should have been much, much bigger. So tonight, 7 o'clock, over on X, Palmetto State Watch is going to be having a discussion on data centers that are flooding into South Carolina. They say, just a reminder, the Palmetto State Watch is hosting an X Space tonight at 7 p.m. to discuss growing issues in South Carolina that deserve more public attention. The rapid influx of large-scale data centers across the states. These projects are often approved quietly with big promises attached, but they raise serious questions about water and energy usage, local tax incentives and who really benefits, infrastructure strain and environmental impact, transparency and public accountability. That's one thing that we lack in Columbia more than anything: transparency and accountability. So if you're interested at all in what the data centers are going to be doing here in South Carolina, go over to Twitter tonight and look for Palmetto State Watch, and they're going to be holding that, because I'm telling you, we've got a chance coming up June 9th to make sure that this state is run by actual conservatives. Now, let's say you're wondering if the person that is in office, let's say you're wondering if they are a true conservative. How conservative are they? Well, here's what I want you to do. Go to Freedom Index. Go to the Freedom Index and see what their Freedom Index is. That's a good way to do it. Go to Freedom Index and find out. Take a look and see how your representatives feel or vote. And that's the thing. Another thing I got to tell you. Don't look at what they do. Don't look at what they do. Don't look at what they say. Don't look at how many ribbon cuttings they go to. Don't look at all of that. Don't look at how many babies they kiss. Look at how they vote. Look at how they vote. Let's just take a look. Let's just go to our state house. Go to our state house real quick. No, let's go to the House. Let's see. Let's go look at, let's just go look at some Republicans here in the state house. Here we go. Hold on. I'll just give you a couple of examples. William Bailey. He's got a Freedom Index of 43. Gary Brewer, Republican. Freedom Index of 29. Joe Bustos, 33. Don Chapman, 35. Brandon Cox, 29. This is amazing to me. Celeste Davis, 33. Look, here's Stephen Frank, 100. 100. Gil Gatch has a Freedom Index of 13. Tell me he don't need to go. Let's take a look at, let's see, there's Rob Harris coming in with 100. Davey Hyatt, 38. Bill Hickson, 25. And these are the people that want you to vote for them again. My big thing is say no. Say no. Let's go to, I want to go to, do I have time? I'm going to make time. Bonnie is in Greer. How you doing, Bonnie?
I'm doing fine. Charlie, how do we know we're not voting for a rhino? Because we all honestly thought we were voting for Republicans, who then turned. How in the world do you prepare yourself for that?
Well, we are going to make sure that you have all of the information you need before you go to the polls in June. I appreciate it, Bonnie. We'll be right back. When we get back, we'll tell you about the left-wing violence of 2025. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Giving the left heartburn. Afternoons 3 to 7. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
America is back.
Yes, sir. And we are back, and we will go to the WRD talk line and talk to Beckett in Greer. How you doing, Beckett?
Honey, I'm holding for that clown, Charlie James.
Oh, well, your circus is right around the corner there, pal. You got the big nose on. You got the big floppy shoes. Yeah, everything is good. Well, let's talk to Beckett. Because these are the people. I want to point out the people that people like that support. Okay? Over the past year, you know, everybody talks about right-wing violence. Oh, it's right-wing violence. How much of that have you actually seen? I remember in Bondi Beach in Australia, after two radical Islamists went to the beach and killed, 16 people? It was the first day of Hanukkah, and they opened fire on that beach, killing 16 people, injuring many more. That the Prime Minister of Australia came out talking about right-wing violence. They got to do something about right-wing violence. Well, that's not right-wing violence. That's Islamic violence. And we know that the people on the left, as I've told you many times before, are literally the most violent among us. The most violent. I'll give you a couple of examples. Back on January the 28th, Capitol Hill police arrested Riley Jane English, 24 years old, after she told officers that she was carrying a folding knife and 2 Molotov cocktails. English traveled to Washington, D.C., intending to kill Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who she called a Nazi. Or she was going to kill House Speaker Mike Johnson. She also reportedly mentioned wanting to burn down the Heritage Foundation. This attack came after the media was reporting that Pete Hegseth had a tattoo associated with white supremacist groups, when the tattoo merely features the Jerusalem cross. It was also followed by a year of false claims about Project 2025, a policy project the Heritage Foundation led. And then we go to the Tesla vandalism. Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency, headed by Elon Musk, cut wasteful and ideological spending in the early months of the year. Vandals targeted Tesla vehicles, dealerships, and charging stations. They burned vehicles to the ground. Protesters marched with banners reading, "Burn a Tesla, Save Democracy." In fact, it was, I guess it was about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks. There was somebody in our neighborhood with a Tesla Cybertruck. And you could see on the hood where somebody had painted a swastika. You could see that. Then you go to, by the way, some of these leftists actually published a map plotting the location of every Tesla owner across the U.S. and suggesting that they be attacked. Back in April, the Justice Department charged Jameson Wagner, 40 years old, for 2 attacks: an arson attack on 2 Tesla vehicles in February featuring swastikas and graffiti "Die Elon," and an arson attack on the New Mexico Republican Party headquarters featuring the graffiti "ICE equals KKK." Hurling firebombs is no political protest, said Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Then you've got the attack in May on the National Jewish Museum. A gunman yelling "Free Palestine" shot and killed a Jewish couple, Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, outside a National Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. Elias Rodriguez, 31 years old, faces federal and local murder charges. He's pled not guilty. Previously been associated with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Then you've got Mohammed Sabri Solomon, 45 years old, facing 12 hate crime charges for allegedly using Molotov cocktails on June 1st to attack people who marched in solidarity with Israeli hostages taken by Hamas on October the 7th. He, too, shouted "Free Palestine." Then back in June, a guy named Vance Bolter, 57 years old, murdered, allegedly, Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman, her husband, and shot State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, both of whom survived. He was motivated by opposition to abortion, and he targeted Democrats. The Center for Strategic and International Studies characterized the attack as right-wing, but a few days after the assassination, a Democrat Party lobbyist reportedly sent text messages to a former friend of an opposing political viewpoint. The lobbyist wrote, "Excited to have my gun at the Capitol and blow somebody's blanking face off." We're going to be talking more about Portman coming up in just a little bit, because we might have actually stumbled across one of the reasons that she was assassinated. Then you've got the ICE attack back in July in Alvarado. Then you've got the Annunciation Church shooting. And then, of course, you've got on September the 10th, a man in a relationship with another man who identifies as transgender murdered Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. The shooting came a few months after the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is notorious for comparing mainstream conservative and Christian groups to the KKK and putting them on hate maps. They added Turning Point USA to that map. And we also saw how the people on the left celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk. But even after that, the Kirk assassination actually sparked more violence. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office in Minnesota filed charges against a man who allegedly made violent threats in retaliation for Kirk's death. El Paso, Texas, arrested 35-year-old Marinka Marquez, charged her with arson against a place of worship. So, I mean, it's been a year of left-wing violence, but nobody on the left will admit it. When we get back, remember when people were saying that immigrants were taking pets and animals out of parks and eating them? Remember how they laughed at you for saying that? Yeah, about that. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, y'all ready for the new year? Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Not looking forward to the fireworks because of the puppies, but I'm looking forward to 2026. 2025 has been a pretty darn good year. So, do you remember earlier this year where we started hearing stories, and oh boy, the left just lost their minds. We started hearing stories about these immigrants that were going to parks and they were catching geese and they were catching ducks. And all of a sudden, in some neighborhoods, dogs and cats started missing. And people were like, what's going on? And then they actually found out that some of these immigrants were actually taking these animals and eating them. And the people on the left are like, this is not happening. Nobody is doing. Well, it was happening. It was absolutely happening. Because why wouldn't they? I mean, if you do it in your home country, why would you not come here and do it here too? I mean, if you grow tomatoes here in America and you move over to, some other place, I mean, don't you think, hey, man, I'm going to grow me some tomatoes. I love those things. Yes, absolutely. You see, the vast majority of these people that are coming here are not coming here to fit in. They're not coming here to adapt to our society. They're here to make our society adapt to them. And oh boy, is our society adapting to them. We are bending over backwards in all of these liberal Democrat cities, bending over backwards to appease these immigrants coming here. Don't believe me? Want you to listen to what is going on in Michigan. Here we go.
According to the ordinance, quote, the owning, keeping, or harboring of pigs, horses, cows, sheep, goats, llamas, domestic fowl, outdoor rabbits is prohibited, and this section does not apply for temporary religious sacrificial purposes as permitted by law.
Our city is dirty enough. We don't want to make more dirty.
Debates raged on for at least 3 hours at Hamtramck City Hall over the new ordinance of sacrificing animals.
Really ridiculous, catastrophic resolution.
If it's not passed, then we are ready to take it to the court for the religious rights. It is constitution.
This was the second debate of the new ordinance, and there was a crowd outside of the City Hall chambers filling out cards to speak, and they were watching it on closed-circuit TV.
No, it's not safe or sane or humane because basements or kitchens or backyards are not suitable places for live animal slaughter.
Many people, including Muslim residents, were against it, citing sanitary concerns if the animals are sacrificed in a home and not in a sterile environment, especially in the tight-knit neighborhoods of Hamtramck. The ordinance that was passed on Tuesday night says religious sacrificing of animals can be done as long as it is done legally and humanely.
I think it's the best compromise. We don't want to restrict religious freedoms, and we don't want to keep it random without regulations.
Many Muslims pay a butcher to perform the religious sacrifice, but for some families, it's just not practical, says Nawar Ali with CARE Michigan.
A lot of families will typically do it in the confines of their property, like in their backyard, their garage, and again, dispose of the animal accordingly.
Can you believe it? Allowing animal sacrifice in Michigan? I'm literally speechless. So the city council said, yeah, you know what, no, you can't have pigs, you can't have llamas, you can't have goats, you can't have outdoor rabbits, you can't have unless you're going to sacrifice them. And then it's okay. then it's completely fine. Yes. I mean, I started to ask the question, have they lost their ever-loving minds? And the answer to that is obviously yes. Obviously yes. Charlie, where's PETA? Good question. Where is PETA on this? Where are they? Oh, no. PETA's not going to rear their little heads on this. Oh, yes. They will dress up like a turkey and go sit in Times Square. Literally had a naked grown man doing that, decorated as a turkey, to protest you celebrating Thanksgiving. But now we're talking about Muslims. And that's completely different now. They have to be allowed to do whatever they want to do. Whatever they want to do. Charlie, here in Newberry, we recently enacted an ordinance that restricted having roosters in the city limits. In my experience, unfortunately, Hispanic families sometimes keep roosters as pets. I'm now awakened at 3 o'clock every morning by the sound of crowing. Yeah, that's why if you're going to keep chickens, you need to keep chickens, not the roosters. Anyway, I don't get it. Well, just because these people have a certain ideology, same thing with the trans community. I'll give you a perfect example. You could not, if you were a grown man, you could not dress in a pair of Speedos and go dance in front of children. You would be thrown in jail. Would you not? Absolutely you would. But if you're trans and you do the same thing, you just put on a little makeup and a wig, maybe some high heels, now it's completely acceptable. Let's see, Charlie, these things always seem to happen where there are no good old boys and rednecks. Yep, you're exactly right. Let's go to Dean in Cashville. Dean, welcome.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello.
Charlie, I have an answer to your question as to where PETA is, and I am not making this up. PETA is telling Mahalia Jackson that she should not wear fur.
Oh,
That's
well.
what they actually did. They
Well,
told.
good.
So I just thought I'd share that because that is, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do.
I appreciate it, Dean. Thank you very much. So, Mahalia Jackson, you cannot wear fur. You folks over there, go sacrifice your animals. You see the insanity that we're living in? You see how things are nuts right now? Yeah, I'm telling you what. But there is a chance that the world is waking up. In fact, over in Iran right now, they are protesting in the streets. There are a bunch of people that are against. They're the anti-Islamist faction over there. Thousands of people are in the streets protesting. Over in France, you had one town over there that removed the European Union flag from their town hall. I believe people are starting to wake up. It's going to take a while, but I think they're starting to wake up. We'll see if it happens. All right, WRD Talk Line 800-9050-989. That's also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. When we get back, even CNN can't ignore President Trump's economy. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go back to the WRD Talk Line to talk to Louise in Columbus. How you doing, Louise?
I'm doing great. How are you, Charlie?
I'm doing great. What's on your mind?
Good. Well, that Bridget Bardot actress, I looked her up on Wikipedia because I didn't know much about her, but she's supposedly an animal rights activist, right?
Yeah.
And you're all talking about all this PETA thing. But the cutest thing about it that I liked was she was fined by France.
Yeah.
Did you hear? You might have spoke about it earlier. I don't know. I just came in late.
Okay.
She's fined 6 times for inciting racial hatred for her criticism on Muslims taking over France. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was very, very outspoken about just what was going to happen to France if they kept letting all of these illegals in. And by golly, it turns out she was right. Louise, I thank you very much. Yeah, Bridget Bardot passing away this weekend at the age of 91. Okay, so even the folks over there on CNN, they are just, well, they're not very happy when they have to report all of this good economic news.
A new report shows the U.S. economy was much stronger than expected in the third quarter. GDP grew at the fastest rate in 2 years.
Wow.
Americans are also seeing some prices ease at the grocery store. The cost of eggs, milk, chicken, and tomatoes are all down, as you see here on the screen.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that recession that was supposed to happen back in July didn't happen? Is that what you're telling me? No, you cannot tell me that. I mean, surely President Trump's tariffs were going to send us into some sort of recessive whirlpool, and the whole economy was going to go down the drain. Surely you must be mistaken. But no, it is absolutely true. Take a listen to this.
Prices, they've been under control really all year, and they're ending the year at especially low levels. So the national average, $2.86 a gallon. That's down by 21 cents from a month ago. It's also the lowest level since April of 2021. Now, gas prices were pretty low a year ago, too, but they're even lower right now. When you look across the country, there's 10 states where the average is below $2.50 a gallon, right? Including Louisiana, Texas, Wisconsin, Iowa, Colorado. Oklahoma has the cheapest gas price in the country at $2.29 a gallon. And this trend could continue at least for a bit. Gas Buddy is projecting that the national average on Christmas Day will be just $2.79 a gallon. That would take out the low from last year, which was previously the lowest since 2020. And Gas Buddy says this will save drivers about $500 million over what they spent last year.
Not each, collectively.
Not each, collectively. And so, look, this hopefully will help people kind of feel a little bit better about their wallets.
And it does. We're now seeing that oil is down to $57 a barrel. That is, I mean, what this man's been able to do in just 11 months and 9 days has been absolutely remarkable. Now, I know everybody was complaining there for a while. Oh, when are we going to start? And like I and a lot of other people told you, I mean, this is a battleship. And you don't turn these things on a dime. He has had to overcome 4 years of Joe Biden and his prices. Now, all of those dates that they gave you back in 2021, I thought, well, who's the president back in 2021? Oh, that's right. Joe Biden was. Joe Biden was the president back in April of 2021. And why does this surprise anybody? When Joe Biden campaigned on doing away with the petroleum industry. That was a campaign promise that he made. We all remember that, right? We all remember when Joe Biden was saying, I promise you it's going to be my top initiative. We're going to do away. We're going to do it away. Do away with it. And dang if he didn't do his best. So it took Donald Trump coming in, changing things, to get gas prices back down to where they are now. Like I said, I saw it for $2.29 a gallon. Somebody says I paid $2.19 yesterday. $2.19. Yeah, it's looking good. Let's see. Charlie, did you say Spartanburg was having a data center meeting tonight? Okay. Yes and no. It's going to be online over at Twitter. Palmetto State Watch is putting it on. That's Palmetto State Watch. You can go on Twitter tonight at 7 o'clock, X. Go on tonight at 7 o'clock. Then we're going to be holding like a Q&A session about data centers and just how much they really take out of a community. And one of the questions that Sarita Edgerton, one of our state representatives, had and was lambasted for was, listen, how many jobs are they promising? How much electricity are they going to use? How much water are they going to use? What's going to be the impact to livability around the area? And these were all legitimate questions. And you know what this state representative was told? To sit down and shut up. Interesting. Let's go to Ron in Hendersonville. Ron, welcome.
Hey, Charlie, how you doing?
Good, bud. What's up?
I got a gas report from Hendersonville, North Carolina. It's $2.19 a gallon for regular.
$2.19. That is pretty good. I saw diesel for $3.19 a gallon. That's pretty good, too. So I'm telling you what, I mean, a big difference from last year, isn't it?
Yeah, we're looking for it to go below 2 before the elections in November.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so. I appreciate it. Somebody said 213 in Spartanburg on Friday at the Stop a Minute out on Highway 81. Charlie, off topic, have you found a good home flour mill? Yes, we found one. I think, I might get this wrong, but I think we got the Wonder Mill, and it's back ordered, but it is going to be here next month. So looking forward to that. Charlie, 219 in Powdersville. That is very, very good. So I'm telling you, he's got this, GDP 4.3% growth? That is well beyond expectations. And then to counter that, you look up at Canada, their economy shrunk by 1.7%. Yeah. You see, that's what happens when Canada refuses to play ball with Donald Trump. And where are all these experts now? Where are they? Why isn't CNN getting them on and saying, listen, you said we were in for a recession back in July. What happened to that? Hey, you said the tariffs were going to cause, well, there you go. I want to go to Everett in Spartanburg. Everett, welcome. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, Charlie. How you doing today?
I'm really good. What's up, man?
I was just going to say that when Biden was in office, they brought interest rates down 6 times, even though inflation was extremely high.
Yeah.
Well, inflation's down now, and they still won't bring interest rates down. And until they bring interest rates down, our economy's not going to go.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, and you're exactly right, though. No, you are exactly right, because they don't want the economy to grow.
No, they want interest rates to stay high.
Yeah.
Until at least after midterms.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Jerome Powell is going to keep those interest rates up there. I was talking to somebody about interest rates. Ours are in the mid-2s. I mean, there's no way I'm selling my house anytime soon. I'm not with a 2-point-something% interest rate. No way. But Jerome Powell wants to keep them inflated in order to try to hurt the Trump economy. Hey, Charlie, how about some legislation to require that those data centers have to provide their own power plant independent from commercial power supply? Wait a minute, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 words. Your first 5 words should answer everything about that question that you just sent me. Charlie, how about some legislation? Well, who's going to write that legislation in Columbia? Who's it? Oh, this state legislature? Oh, this state legislature who cozies up to all of these data centers and gets taken out to fine dinners and, they get all the perks. You really think they're going to do something like that? That's why we got to get rid of them. That's why June 9th is so important. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
You're locked into the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Tap and type your message on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go to the WRD talk line. We'll talk to Jim up in Highlands. How you doing, Jim?
Pretty good, Charlie. How are you?
I'm great, man. What's up?
I'm not sure that data center needs legislation to proceed. The logical way, and there's still some complications, but there's a thing called a modular nuclear power plant, and it would be a standalone plant that would serve the data center. It would probably have to be interconnected to the rest of the world, but the primary source of power would be the individual power plant.
Right. Are those? Let me ask something. Are those available widespread?
They just have become available. There probably was never. They're not being used for data centers, I don't believe, but
Yeah.
they are, I believe, being used for petrochemical plants.
But what I mean, see that's what I don't understand. I mean, why don't we have these things
They
for?
just became available. They haven't
All right.
been available.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim: how do we get nuclear power plants in submarines?
It's not that different.
I would think that would be kind of the same technology. So
The big difference between the big problem with a nuclear power plant is you got to be able to cool it.
yeah,
Okay. And
So you need a lot of
submarine's got
water.
Water all around
Yeah.
it. Yes.
yeah, that's true. That is true. Water is a big part of it, Jim. I appreciate it. That's a good idea. It's a real because they use water anyway. But then you got to say, what do you do with all the, it's a lot to it. But we are using power now at an unbelievable rate. And have you noticed here in the past couple of months, all of these, global warming activists have gotten really, really quiet. People like Bill Gates got really quiet on the environment. Now Bill Gates even coming out and saying, oh, well, global warming is probably not the existential crisis that we once said it was. And you know why that is? You know why he said that? Cha-ching, cha-ching. Because he's heavily invested in AI. And AI data centers use a tremendous amount of energy. So understand, Bill Gates, all these people, even old Greta Thunberg, she's not talking about the environment anymore. Their loyalty ends at their wallet. And when Bill Gates thinks he can make money off of energy production and energy usage, then he's going to be okay. Now, this is the same guy that wanted you to ride your bike to work, but he wants to put up AI data centers that use thousands of times more electricity than your home uses. Now you see the fraud that they've been perpetrating for years and years now. Absolute fraud, and that's all it's been, a way for them to make money. I just want to check real quick. How much energy, let's see, how much does a data center, I'm sorry, I'm doing this real time, use compared to an average home? Let's see. All right, let's see. Well, let's see what it says. How much energy does a data center? The average typical household uses 10,700 kilowatts a year. 10,700 kilowatts. A typical AI-focused data center will use as much electricity as 100,000 households a year. Some large facilities are estimated to consume power comparable to hundreds of thousands of homes, 300,000 homes a year, depending on design and workload. You see why they don't? See why they're not talking about the environment anymore? They're making money off of this. But we got to keep an eye on it here in South Carolina. And in order to keep an eye on it here in South Carolina, we've got to have some people down in Columbia that will actually keep an eye on things. Now, don't count on the state legislature. And folks, I'm going to harp on this between now and June 9th. You have got to make changes in Columbia. And one of the changes that we're going to be making is the governor's office. So we've got Ralph Norman, Nancy Mace, Alan Wilson, Pamela Vett, and Josh Kimbrell running for governor of South Carolina. The South Carolina Republican Party has announced that they will have 4 debates. Now, these may not be the only debates, but these are the ones that are from the South Carolina GOP. They're going to have, and I don't have the dates on these yet, just to let you know. They're going to have a debate at Wofford. They're going to have a debate at the Newberry Opera House. They're going to have a debate at Coastal Carolina. And they're going to have a debate at the College of Charleston. So they're scheduling 4 debates between, I guess, January 1st and the primary coming up on June 9th. So you're gonna have to watch these, man. You're going to have to watch these. Are we going to keep going down the same road that we're going? Are we going to have a governor that's just going to bow down to the state legislature? Are we actually going to have a governor, a common sense governor, that is actually going to fight back and actually put South Carolinians first? That's going to be the biggest question for me. Now, we've got some of these candidates, they're all out there about pro-business, and they want to bring in as much industry as they possibly can. And we've got some that want to take a little more of a metered approach. Growth, development, you got to watch out for that. Huge issue all across the state of South Carolina. Affordability, infrastructure. These are the things you're going to really have to watch when these debates start happening. And again, these might not be the only debates. I hope not. I hope we're going to have a lot of chances to see these candidates going head-to-head and answering actual questions. So June 9th is the primary. Make it a New Year's resolution that you are going to vote in every single election. Then maybe what happened in Senate 12 and House 21 and House 88 will happen again on June 9th, when we can get good, solid Republicans in office. Go look at the Freedom Index score of these people. We got some Republicans in the House of Representatives that have a 13 Freedom Index score. 13. And you wonder why things here in South Carolina are the way they are? We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
A native Georgia bulldog who bites back at big government. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking. News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
100 million views. That's what Nick Shirley got off of his videos this weekend, talking about the fraud that is being perpetrated by Somalians. Let's take a little listen to one of the clips here.
Here in Minnesota, massive fraud is taking place within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong, and they said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is there's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. And if you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed and the windows are all blacked out. No one's working. Midday, children should be in here, and this place is licensed for 99 children, and this is the outside. There's no windows, no nothing. And like I said, they literally spelt the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota. The government is complicit with this, and this is just one of the hundreds of child daycare centers here inside of Minneapolis being ran by the Somali population. It's sad that it's happening here in Minnesota, and it stinks that it's happening and it's being labeled on the Somali population. However, that's just the facts of what's happening here.
And the reason it's being labeled on the Somali population is because they're the ones that are doing it. But that's not, it's, all right, so first we started out with the autism centers. This is where the ball really started going. So they found out that if you took your child to an autism center, they would give you money for your child's expenses. Gold mine. So they would go from autism center to autism center to autism center. And finally somebody said, listen, they're catching on to you. So the Somali community said, wait a minute. These autism centers are not fulfilling the needs of the Somali community. We need Somali-based autism centers. And Minnesota and Tim Walz said, by golly, you're right. What are we? Oh, we're a bunch of just racist. We need autism centers just for Somalians. Excuse my white privilege. I'm terribly sorry that we overlooked you. Here is your money for your Somali autism centers. And they just started giving money out, taxpayer money to all these people. Well, they got found out. Then we got this video from Nick Shirley, where you've got all of these daycare centers, 99 children, $1.6 million in that autism, that learning center or leering center alone, because they misspelled it. Quality Leering Center. But it's not just that. Oh, no. It's not just that. I want you to listen to this woman talking about another little scam that Somalis have going on.
Here in Minnesota, a local realtor reached out to me to tell me about another way that Somalians are scamming Minnesotans out of their taxpayer dollars. In her community alone, Somalians have bought up over 455 homes. They buy these homes, claiming they're turning these homes into home health care centers. She says the way we know Somalians have bought these homes is because all of a sudden, extremely nice cars start showing up. Mercedes, BMWs, the nicest cars are parked in the driveway. And she said by law, the state will not come out and inspect these homes and make sure these homes even have clients living in these homes. She also said, as a realtor, she cannot disclose to people wanting to buy homes in this neighborhood that Somalians have bought that home and they're using that as a home health care center. She said these homes can even take people in who've just been released from jail, and the neighborhood does not need to know about this. But she says many of these homes do not even have clients in them. But the state is writing them checks every month for the clients that the Somalians say are in these homes, and these Somalians are making millions of dollars off of these homes every year. The Somalians have figured out exactly the perfect plan as to how to scam Minnesota taxpayers out of their money.
Now, we got to go back to Tim Walz and the government of Minnesota. You see, people knew about this scam that was going on with the Somali autism centers. They knew about all the scams with the learning centers. They knew about the scams with the health care, the home care. But they were told in the government, if you, and let's not forget about this, if you report this, we are going to wage a campaign against you. We're going to call you a racist. We're going to call you an Islamophobe. We're going to call you all sorts of horrible names. And we're going to investigate you. So nobody said a word about it. So now we're looking at all of these Somali-run child care centers in Minneapolis. And look at this. Look at who they're donating to. They're donating to the Democrats. Recent probes flag up to half of $18 billion in state programs that were looted, including daycare scams where centers pocketed millions with no kids in sight, exposing empty daycare centers in Minneapolis that scored up to $4 million. Politicians like Ilhan Omar got hit with donations from fraud suspects back in 2022, though she bounced the cash to food banks. So they're taking all of this fraudulent money and they're backing Democrat candidates. Now let's go to Melissa Hortman up in Minnesota. I want you to listen. And not only do I want you to listen to what she says, I want you to listen to how she says it.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote. And we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hortman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants. It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
The bill was deeply unpopular with members of the DFL caucus. Members have repeatedly expressed frustration that the bill was part of a compromise, one that would ensure the necessary GOP votes to pass the rest of the state budget.
So Melissa Hortman voted to stop health care for illegal immigrants in Minnesota. She was assassinated. Could that be why she was assassinated? I certainly wouldn't doubt it. But then who else have you got complicit in all of this? You got these judges in Minnesota as well. Judge Sarah West. Now, there were all of these Somali fraud cases going on. Judge Sarah West had Abdifatah Yusuf in her court. Judge Amber Brennan had Yusuf's wife, Lul Ahmed. Judge Hillary Kigliari had a co-defendant, Abwali Muhammad, in their courts. In the case of Yusuf, in Judge Sarah West's court, the jury found Yusuf guilty. Unanimous verdict. Unanimous. Guilty of fraud. Judge Sarah West said, no, I'm dropping the charges. And Yusuf walked free. Walked free. So even though a jury of his peers found this man guilty of fraud, this liberal white judge, another awful, an affluent, white, urban, liberal female, let him go. Oh, yeah. It's big, folks. It's going to get even bigger. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Tough on issues, sharp with facts. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. Chat with Charlie.
800-905-0989. Save it on your phone.
This is the Charlie James Show, only on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go to the WRD talk line. We'll talk to John in Waynesville. How you doing, John?
Good, Charlie. Hope you had a great Christmas.
Yes,
and
sir.
Wish you great news.
Thank you.
So there was 91 long-range attack drones that were launched on Putin's state residence in the Novgorod region, and Trump himself said that thank God that we didn't get the Tomahawk missiles to Kyiv, and he said with this situation, it's going to affect how he works with Zelensky now.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't doubt that. Of course, he met with Zelensky in the White House yesterday. So I tell you what, I'm going to look more into that tonight, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. Folks, I need you to pray for Victor Davis Hanson. Now, a lot of you guys watch Victor Davis Hanson. I follow him over on X. Brilliant man. You saw him on there with Tucker a lot. But he is apparently had a very bad diagnosis, medical diagnosis, of course, and he has to undergo major surgery tomorrow. They have not released what the actual problem is, but apparently it's very severe. So pray for Victor Davis Hanson, because, boy, I tell you what, just a great mind that guy has. Well, somebody that doesn't have all that great a mind is a guy named Brian Hicks. And Brian Hicks is over at the Compost and Courier, and he wrote a story. And I want to read this to you because, I mean, this is just, I've met Brian Hicks on many occasions when I was down in Charleston. I found him to be a particularly unpleasant individual, a very condescending man. And, of course, he's the editorial page editor over at the Post and Courier. Listen to the headline. As long as voters make such bright decisions, nothing will change in the State House. Talking about Lee Bright. So you go down and you read, it says, upstate voters are sending former Senator Lee Bright back to the General Assembly, and, well, that'll fix everything. Except, of course, all of those things that South Carolina actually needs to fix. So there's been a new slew of legislative special elections around the state in recent weeks, with more to come, and voting has been nothing if not predictable. Well, I don't understand what Brian Hicks's problem is with Lee Bright or conservatives in general. Because, you see, we, the conservatives, the actual conservatives here in South Carolina, we've got a problem with the way our state legislature is run. But the only way that you can do something about the way our state legislature is run is to get the rhinos out of office, to get the people who appoint radical Democrats into subcommittee chairmanships. Remove them. The ones that roll over and play dead to the Democrats on a daily basis, remove them. Then maybe something will be done in Columbia. He goes on to say the upstate voters elected a candidate best known for her crusade to save women's sports from the allegedly widespread yet oddly undocumented problem of transgender people switching sexes to better compete in high school sports. Well, apparently Brian Hicks is all for young men competing against women in high school sports. I give you a great example of why that shouldn't happen. There was just a tennis match here recently. The number one tennis player in the world, female, played the 561st rated male in the world. And it wasn't even close. He beat her handily. Now, this is the 561st best male tennis player in the world, and she was number one, and he beat her handily. But I guess people like Brian Hicks, they don't have a problem with that. So then he goes down, and just to let you know just how Brian Hicks is, listen how condescending this is. The South Carolina Republican Party took to the unsocial media website, formerly known as Twitter, last week to crow about these wins, mocking Democrats and landing the commitment of voters who took the time out from ransacking Target to cast ballots for that will continue these culture wars. Well, here's the thing, though. You see, he thinks you're out there ransacking. No, he might as well call you garbage, like Joe Biden did, right? So people like Brian Hicks don't understand that politics is downhill from culture. If you don't change the culture, you will never change the politics. That's why the culture wars are so important. All you got, go read Andrew Breitbart. Go read Breitbart. And you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. The culture drives the politics. And until you do something about the culture, the politics isn't going to change. And even though Brian Hicks doesn't think there's a problem with men participating in girls' sports, maybe Brian Hicks doesn't think there's a problem with abortion up to including the moment of birth, doesn't have a problem with that, doesn't have a problem with any of the liberal ideologies. You see, the real thing that Brian Hicks does not want in the State House are people like Lee Bright and Diane Mitchell and John Lastinger. People like Hicks, they want the Davy Hyatts. They want the Micah Caskies. They want the Merle Smiths, the ones that will actually roll over and play dead to the Democrats. Yeah. Never a more unpleasant, condescending individual that I have ever met than Brian Hicks with the Post and Courier. But for some reason, he's still got a job. I wonder how he feels about what's going on with the Somali fraud in Minnesota. All right, again, if you are of the praying nature, pray for Victor Davis Hanson having major surgery tomorrow. Man, we need more conservative minds like him. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas. Interact on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. Text or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go to the WRD talk line. We'll talk to Eric in Pickens. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing all right, but I got a little annoyed when I heard you reading that article because it's just blatantly obvious that the only reason we have anything called a culture war is because the left declared war on traditional American culture and traditional American values.
Sure.
And we are the bad guys because we're defending what they're attacking.
You're exactly right.
The left is really Hamas here because, Hamas attacks and it says, well, the Israelis are bad for defending themselves from our attacks. And, hey, this is why that you see the left out there marching with Hamas going, we support Hamas.
Yeah, for some reason.
It's a terrorist mentality.
You're exactly right, Eric. You're exactly right. I appreciate it. That's why I saw him protesting downtown this past weekend. Whatever reason, I don't know, protesting. Had nothing better to do. No kings, no tyrants. You want to talk about tyrants? Yeah, let the other side get back in power. Just go look at what's happening in Minnesota. Now, this isn't as much as you got to give so much credit to Nick Shirley and those videos that he posted over the weekend. They were phenomenal. 100 million views. This wasn't the first time we heard about this. In fact, if you go back to 2015, let's take a listen. This is Fox 9 in Minneapolis.
For 5 months, we've been investigating what appears to be rampant fraud in a massive state program. A fraud suspected of costing Minnesota taxpayers as much as $100 million a year. Our reporting is based on public records and nearly a dozen government sources who have direct knowledge of what's happening. These sources have a deep fear, and there's evidence to support their concerns that some of that public money is ending up in the hands of terrorists. We begin at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, where mysterious suitcases filled with cash have become a fairly common carry-on.
Yikes. Yikes. That's the millions, and that was 2015. So we knew about it 10 years ago, but nobody said anything about it because if you said something about it, you were going to be labeled an Islamophobe, you were going to be labeled racist. And you just go back to January of this year. This is Channel 5 News in Minneapolis.
Governor Tim Walz and state lawmakers recently pledged to crack down on fraud in state government programs after scandals questioned their oversight.
We got complaints about the Child Care Assistance Program and took a closer look at some of the daycare centers receiving millions of your taxpayer dollars. And we found reports of violations state investigators called a threat to the safety of children at centers that continued to receive those federal dollars.
Jay Cole spent months looking into these issues, and he joins us now with what he's found in a story you're seeing first on 5. Jay.
Yeah, Lindsay, CCAP is a $34 million state program that receives federal funding. It benefits more than 12,000 low-income families each month across the entire state. Learning of growing concerns about the program from sources at the Capitol, I started looking into some of the daycares receiving the most money. Despite many serious safety violations over multiple years, they continue to receive funding. And now some state lawmakers want an investigation into what they call a lack of oversight of the CCAP program.
Aha. They knew about it. They knew about it 10 years ago. They knew about it back in January. What has changed? Nothing has changed. The only thing that got changed is light was shown upon it. But that's not the only fraud that's going on. Now, that's what's getting all the media coverage right now. And hopefully this will continue. And hopefully Tim Walz and others will go to jail. I would love to see that. Will they? Probably not, but I would love to see it. But is that the biggest fraud that's going on right now? Maybe not. Now, the real bombshell that is out there is that Obamacare, the system that Obama came up with, that none of the Republicans supported, none of the Republicans supported the Obamacare COVID subsidies. And now those subsidies are going away. And your premiums are going up, even though Obama said they would never go up. Obamacare is now tied to $47 billion in fraud money in just 1 year. $47 billion a year. That's amazing. And then they tried to strong-arm President Trump for another $400 billion in Obamacare subsidies. So, I mean, $47 billion? We've all known that it's been a fraud. We've all known that Obamacare was a fraud. I want you to listen to this guy. His name's Chris Biggs. Let's take a listen to him. This is pretty darn good.
I just have to say, this is the first time I've had a chance to sit in front of the Senate. If no harm has ever come to anybody under Obamacare, and it's such a great plan, why are you all not on it?
Huh, good senators? If Obamacare is such a good plan and it's such a wonderful thing, how come you excluded yourselves from being required to have Obamacare? Because they knew it was bad. They knew it was bad. $47 billion in fraud. You couple that with all the fraud, and it's not, listen, hey, coming up in just a second, it's not just Minnesota. It's not just Minnesota. This stuff is happening. I would almost guarantee you. I'd almost guarantee you that the amount of fraud that is coming out of state agencies that are receiving federal money, I would not be surprised if they came out tomorrow and said that it would total it up to $1 trillion a year. I would not be surprised at that at all. But when you've got, and by the way, I read a story this weekend. Do you know who the easiest organization in the world to defraud is? The easiest. The United States government. There is so little oversight. There is so little accountability. There is so much compartmentalization where agencies don't talk together. They don't communicate. That the United States government is the easiest entity to defraud anywhere. They're number one. They're the leaders. Like I said, if they told me tomorrow that $1 trillion worth of, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I really wouldn't. $47 billion fraud in Obamacare. We saw how many people were on SNAP benefits. Nobody batted an eye when we said 42 million Americans on SNAP benefits. Nobody got, we got to get these SNAP benefits done. Now I got all this fraud going on. Man, I'm telling you what. Hopefully, we can get some of this cleaned up. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hitting truth bombs longer than he drives off the tee. It's the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
From the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line, Charlie, keep preaching common sense. You're as good as Rush. Thank you for your broadcast. I appreciate that. Do not blaspheme Rush. He's been the greatest ever in radio, and we all know that. Okay. What was I going to talk about here? I had something. Oh. Keep an eye on Iran. Keep an eye on Iran. Right now, the anti-Islamic Iranians have taken control of several cities in Iran, and the IRGC, members of the IRGC are resigning right now. They're chanting, "Long live the Shah," on the streets of Iran. That hasn't happened in decades. You see, people used to be scared. They used to be scared of the Iranian government. They used to be scared of the Islamists. But that's changing. That is changing quickly. Watch for Iran. I know it's late in the evening over there right now, but watch and see what happens. My goodness. We'll see. Iranian crowds pushing back, protesting against the Islamic regime. In fact, I don't know if it was the Crown Prince, one of the bigwigs over there, was telling people to keep up the revolution, keep up the revolt, and telling the police to step down and not interfere with their protest. Good. Now, this is a country back in the 70s that was Western. I mean, if you looked at a picture of Baghdad, and then you looked at a picture of, I don't know, name your city in America, the styles were the same, the hairstyles were the same, everything was the same. And then when the Ayatollah came in, all of that changed. Let's go to Janice in Gastonia. Janice, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Charlie, and belated Merry Christmas. I hope you had a good holiday.
I absolutely did. I hope you did too, ma'am.
Sure did. On this fraud with Minneapolis, we need to push all of our elected officials to check into just about every democratically ran city, county, or state, because I'm sure it's widespread for all the states. We're seeing too many politicians getting rich on the public dime.
Yeah, a lot of these politicians. And no, I appreciate it, Janice. And then you got to wonder, talking about Minnesota, you got to wonder, why was it that Kamala Harris picked Tim Walz? Why was that? I mean, this is a guy nobody had ever heard of, nobody really cared about. He proved to be a buffoon on the campaign trail, tanked against J.D. Vance in the debates, high-kicking, jazz-handsing, unpleasant individual. Now, he says that she picked him because he was going to appeal to the masculine men out there. Yeah, Tim Walz, the guy that couldn't load his shotgun because he drove a truck and would go hunting on these gentleman hunts on occasion. He was the one that was going to appeal to the masculine male to get them to go vote for him. Well, that didn't happen. That didn't happen a bit. You see, there are masculine males out there. And masculine males will do anything to defend their family. I want you to listen to this. There's a Texas father who rescued his kidnapped daughter. How did he do it? He tracked her cell phone. She was snatched by a guy that had a knife on Christmas Day. This guy immediately alerted police and accessed the parental control on his 15-year-old's phone. And when the teen failed to return home after taking her dog out for a walk around 4:50 in the evening in Porter, Texas, about 25 miles north of Houston, using her location, the father found her and the dog inside a maroon pickup truck with a partially nude man in a secluded, partially wooded area nearly 2 miles away. He then helped his daughter escape her captor and immediately called authorities, who arrested 23-year-old, are you ready, Giovanni Rosales Espinosa. That according to the sheriff's office. Police said the alleged abductor had threatened the teen with a knife and grabbed her from the street. The father said Christmas is a day meant for joy, but this man chose to shatter that joy by targeting a child. That's actually the sheriff, Wesley Doolittle. I'm incredibly proud of our deputies and detectives who worked tirelessly to ensure this dangerous predator was swiftly apprehended and is now off the streets. Rest assured that your sheriff's office remains vigilant every hour of every day to keep your family safe. But it wasn't really you guys that did it. It was the father who had the wherewithal to check on the parental controls of his daughter's phone and track her down. Good for you, sir. Good for you. I hope they were able to have some sort of a decent Christmas. It was certainly a traumatic event in that family. So but no. So, and again, before you ask, I have no idea if the kidnapper, is legal or illegal. I have no information about that. All right, WRD Talk Line, 800-9050-989. It's also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. Hope you guys had a great Christmas. Hey, Charlie, the guy in the picture looks like too much grace was given to the kidnapper. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. There would have been a lot more subdural hematoma around the eye area. There was just a little too many teeth in his mouth. If I'd have gotten a hold, if I'd have gotten a hold of that guy, I don't know if I'd have called the cops. I don't know if I'd have called the cops. I might have to. You're going to leave too much DNA on his face. But there you go. So, but again, all right. Let's see. Charlie, it was Nancy Pelosi who insisted on Tampon Timmy. Really? I had no idea. Well, whomever it was that made the selection of Tim Walz to be the vice president, could you? Oh, and that's another thing we've got to be thankful for this year. The fact that Kamala Harris did not come anywhere near actually sitting behind the Resolute desk. Whew. Talk about dodging a bullet. All right, we'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Honest views, trusted news. This is the Charlie James Show
On News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie.
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, North Carolina. I don't get it. I really don't. You have got a Republican candidate in Senate District 22. That's up Durham, north of Durham, North Carolina. Her name is Lakeisha M. Alston. Lakeisha M. Alston, Republican. Senate District 22 in North Carolina. Lakeisha M. Alston appears in her campaign photo wearing I'm not sure what it is. It's a niqab. It's not a full burqa, but it's more than a hijab. It covers the whole face, the whole head. It's got the little eye things there. And she's running as a Republican. And you might think, well, surely she's going to get beat by her primary opponent, right? No. There is no primary opponent in Senate District 22 in North Carolina. There is no primary opponent. In fact, if you look at her voting history, she has never voted Republican. She always votes Democrat. She is filed as a Republican for the North Carolina State Senate District 2022 in the 2026 election. Only person running. And she is another radical Democrat. Folks, this has got to be rectified. Somebody up near Durham, some Republican, you need to enter that race. Because all of those Democrats, they're going to be voting for her. They're going to go into the polls. They're not going to vote straight Republican. They might vote straight Republican. And that would include her. But the Democrats are certainly going to cross over and vote in that primary to make sure that this woman gets into office. You see, that's the danger of open primaries. I know they don't have open primaries up in North Carolina, but she's registered as a Republican. You think she's a Republican? I mean, after 15 years of voting for Democrats, do you think all of a sudden she has seen the light, put on her hijab, and became a Republican? No, of course not. And that's why I say coming up June 9th here in South Carolina, that's our primary day. We got to make sure. We got to make sure. All right, and I got to reiterate this. In a lot of places here in South Carolina, the primary is the most important election because that is going to determine who the de facto winner is. Because in a lot of these places, if the Democrats win, they always win. If the Republicans win, they always win. So if you get the right Republican in there, I mean, you could just look up here, look at what we had here recently in the Senate District 12, House 21, House 88. Those districts always vote Republican. So whoever won that primary was going to be the next senator or representative. Thankfully, we got Lee Bright, Diane Mitchell, and John Lastinger in there, even though the Democrats did run a write-in campaign. You got to make sure you get out and vote. And there is no more important vote than that primary coming up on June 9th. I would love to see a 70% voter turnout coming up on June 9th. That would be awesome. That's the only way we're ever going to get to make change. The only way that we can make change. So make sure you make those plans. Well, the White House is about to come out. Well, they came out with an ad Want you to listen to this because it's pretty darn good.
Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years. Our border was open, and because of this, our country was being invaded. This is what the Biden administration allowed to happen to our country. Tonight, after 11 months, our border is secure. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected. And our country is back. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its workers, confident to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you all.
That's a pretty darn good ad from the White House that they put out over the weekend. It really is. And if you do look, I mean, what have we got? And Scott Besson was talking about it over the weekend. I mean, we've got 4.3% growth in the GDP, $200 billion in income from tariffs. We are expecting the largest tax refunds in a long time coming up next year. Prices are down. Gas is down. You know, I saw, I think the lowest somebody posted over on the text line was $2.13. I know a lot of people, including like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, well, I thought it was pretty interesting because somebody said she didn't just turn against Trump. She turned liberal. Because I guess things weren't going quite as well, you know, weren't going to her expectations. What it really was is she got upset that Donald Trump would not endorse her in a statewide race in Georgia to be the senator because he knew she wasn't going to win. So why waste your time, effort, and political capital on somebody that's not going to win? And because he did that, and she's like, I was so loyal to him, that's great. Stay where you are. Be loyal to him where you are. But I want more. So because of that, and because of her political greed and her political ambition, now she's done a 180 and turned against Trump. Speaking of turning against Trump, the Chrisley girl, have you guys been keeping up with this? The daughter, the Chrisley daughter, she's going to be on The View as a co-host. I thought that was kind of weird. How long is it going to be before she turns liberal? Question mark, question mark, question mark. All right, WRD talk line, 800-9050-989. That's also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. When we get back, coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to tell you about some of the hottest high schools in the nation. I mean, these are the ones that people want their kids to go to. And it's not the high schools that maybe you think they are. This is very interesting. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Streaming stimulating talk and breaking news on your phone 24/7 on the Odyssey app. You're on the drive with the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Let your fingers do the talking.
Text the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line at 800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
I just saw a video online of this girl, looks to be young, college age. She decided that she was not going to shower for an entire year. Good for you. Good. That's the way I'm going to treat liberals from now on. Good for you. Good for you. I don't think you should shower for a whole year. I think that's a great idea. I think it's wonderful. Good. Enjoy that. Enjoy that. That'll be great. Pretty amazing. All right, we've been talking a lot about Minnesota, and rightfully so. So Nick Shirley, now he's the guy. It's been going on long before Nick Shirley, but this weekend, Nick Shirley put these videos out, and they 100 million views. 100 million views he got because of these Somali daycare centers. Well, Nick Shirley has a video now out. How many times has this been viewed? It's kind of early days yet. 60,000 right now. Nick Shirley just posted a video of a daycare center that received the most money from the government in Minnesota, $3,670,000. So he decided to go see if he could get a child in this daycare center. Let's hear how that went.
How are you? I would like to see if I could bring little Joey, my son, little Joey here. Is there paperwork, or can I check out the daycare? No?
No.
Why can't I check out the daycare?
American's not here.
Okay, but if can I get paperwork or anything to submit my son, little Joey, to come in here to daycare?
No.
We'd really like to put Joey in this daycare. We've heard great things.
Business card?
No, I would like your business card, actually.
You talk to your manager.
Yeah, got to talk to the manager. Got to talk to the manager. Scam, fraud, $3,670,000. And why not? So how did all of this happen? Because of what they have been teaching and what they're planning on teaching in Minnesota public schools. Let's take a listen to this.
In this week's episode of Coming to a Classroom Near You, we look at the new requirement to teach ethnic studies in all K-12 schools in Minnesota, which must be implemented in 2026. Ethnic studies includes 3 distinct standards: identity, resistance, and ways of knowing and methodologies. The Center for Race, Indigeneity, Disability, Gender, and Sexuality Studies at the University of Minnesota, or RIDGES, is converting these new ethnic studies standards into free lesson plans for school districts. RIDGES' self-declared mission is to challenge systems of power and inequality and imagine social transformation. Let's take a look at one of these taxpayer-funded lesson plans from the U of M. This first one is for 6th graders, 12-year-olds, and fulfills the Ethnic Studies Resistance Standard, which instructs students to organize and describe how individuals and communities have fought for freedom and liberation against systemic and coordinated exercises of power. It's called Protest Art and the Movement for Black Lives. Designed to take place over 3 days, the lesson focuses on the movement for Black lives and the role of protest art in mediating power in the city. Students will watch a video about George Floyd Square produced by Unicorn Riot, a nonprofit left-wing media collective that films Antifa and Black Lives Matter rallies across the country. Students will also learn how local artists responded to the death of George Floyd during the 2020 riots.
Wow. So starting next year, Minnesota's mandatory ethnic studies curriculum for 6th graders is built on 3 core ideas. All right? I'll start at the bottom. Activism is the path to justice. Students should resist systems. And number 3, are you ready for this? Identity is defined by power and oppression. This is from Ibram X. Kendi's critical race theory. The thing that they said was not even a thing. Critical race theory, that doesn't even exist. No, that's only a theory taught in law school. No, it's being implemented. So what they're going to do is they're going to get these kids in a classroom, and they're going to say, I would imagine this is going to be how it would go. Okay, all of you Caucasian kids, I want you to go over to the left side of the room. All of you children of color, I want you to go to the right side of the room. Then they're going to look at the children of color, and they're going to say, you are oppressed. Then they're going to look at the white kids, and they're going to say, you are the oppressors. Nobody wants to be labeled an oppressor, especially a 6th grade child. Everybody just wants to get along. But they're going to, you want to talk about breeding racial division in this country. You want to talk about fomenting division. They're the ones that are responsible for it. We know the greatest divider of all was Barack Hussein Obama. Joe Biden wasn't all that much better. They want this nation divided between the oppressed and the oppressors, but they really don't tell you who the actual oppressors really are. And those are the globalists. You see, the last thing the globalists want is for all of us to get together and get along. No, they cannot have that. No. That takes away their power. Their power is in oppression. It was that power that they used in Minneapolis to talk people or coerce people out of reporting the fraud that was going on. You see, you've got to have that power. The power to be able to look at someone and say, I think you are a racist. And because I think you are a racist, if you don't do what I tell you to do, then I am going to label you as such. And people will, as we've seen in Minneapolis, bend over backwards. That is why the awfuls, the affluent, white, female, urban liberal in this country is so radically liberal. Because they live their lives not to be labeled as racist. I can't, everything I have to, everything that I do, every vote that I make, every move that I make has to show the world that I'm not racist. Meanwhile, they live in very white neighborhoods. They don't have a problem with that. But that's where the power comes from. If you have that power of fear over somebody, that you can coerce them into doing anything you want, voting any way you want, writing anything you want, teaching anything you want, that is unbelievable power. Now you take away that power. And that's where people, that's where people, you want to talk about freedom? Freedom? The ideology that the people on the left espouse, that is the antithesis of freedom. They don't want you to have freedom of religion unless you're a certain religion. They don't want you to have freedom of speech unless it's certain speech. They don't want you to have freedom of assembly unless it's certain people having freedom of assembly. They want to impose ridiculous hate crimes laws that only apply to one group of people and not the other. That's the power they want to hold. Well, let me rephrase that. That's the power that they hold right now. And people are falling for it. People are falling for it. You've got to get to the point where I don't care. You call me whatever you want. I don't care. I know the truth, and your opinion, one of the greatest things I've ever heard is, your opinion of me is none of my business. I don't care. Go think what you want to think. Doesn't matter. I know the truth. But a lot of these people, their social status is more important than anything. So in Minnesota, at ages 11 to 12, kids won't just learn history. They'll study modern protest movements, Activist art, be encouraged to create their own resistance projects framed through race, gender, class, and ability. This isn't a neutral education. They are actually trying to form a world view of their students in Minnesota. So that's why it was so important for us here in South Carolina, and still is because it's still going on, to get rid of all this diversity, equity, and inclusion BS that is rampant in our education system. Rampant. From K through 12 all the way up through our state colleges and universities. It is out there and it is everywhere. Because again, if you're the chancellor, if you're the president, you don't want to be labeled as racist, do you? No, they might cut. They might stop supporting you. I'm telling you, it is crazy. It really is crazy. So up in Massachusetts, they've got a bunch of high schools that have been popping up that everybody wants to go to. Now, you might be thinking these are, high muckety-muck high schools. Going to be turning out PhDs and congressmen and senators and presidents. No. It's much different than that. I'll tell you what it is. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour on The Charlie James Show. Afternoons 3 to 7 on News Talk 98.9.
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. text, or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go to the phones. We'll talk to Richard in Dallas. How you doing, Richard?
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, bud.
I'm not going to ask you how your Christmas was because everybody else has, and I heard what you said. So.
All right. Well, that's good. That's good. Hope yours was good.
So here we go. Hey, all these drug boats that he's been sinking out there in the ocean.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that drugs or whatever they were would be about as pure as you could make them.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's the real stuff, strong,
Right.
strengthly.
Right. So you can break it up and sell it for more profit. Yep.
Yeah. They step on it or cut it a bunch of times. But anyway, I'm just wondering, with all of that high-powered chemical drugs being dumped into the water, I wonder what it's doing to the environment in the ocean right there in that area.
I don't know.
I mean, but we don't really know about that neither. You know, doggone jellyfish might start growing its shell. Hey,
you never know.
Fish, I mean, it messes humans up. It's going to have to mess the fish up.
Yeah.
You know, them fish start swimming in circles or something, you know?
They might. They might be coming to the top saying, hey, man, y'all going to blow up another drug boat? Y'all better blow up another drug boat. I appreciate it, Richard. Let's go to Sean in Hickory. How you doing, Sean?
Hey, Charlie. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Yes, sir. What's going on?
Yes. Okay, well, I wanted to talk just a little bit about your commentary about the Democrats and their power and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, thank you. And you and I have talked about this before in the past. I've been calling your show for years.
Mm-hmm.
I think first and foremost, we need to understand as a people that the Democrats are the party of slavery. They always have been. They were the party of slavery during the Civil War. It was the Republicans that freed the slaves. It was the Republicans that were responsible for the 13th Amendment. It was the Republicans that was responsible for birthright citizenship. And it was a majority of Republicans that helped pass the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at it from a standpoint of what I call intelligence, the Democrats are obsessed with power over the individual citizen. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why, because our forefathers would be rolling over in their graves knowing that our government today has turned into what it is. When they envisioned a government that was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Run by the people. I'm sorry, I was tongue twisted. I couldn't get it out.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it was Jefferson that even said that a government that is deadlocked is better for its people, because if they can't get nothing done, then the American people can continue to live their lives as they see fit without government intervention.
Yeah.
And you know,
Now, and I'll tell you what, and you're absolutely right. I think a government, a government that governs best governs least. I think that was Jefferson.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, that's you're exactly right, because every day that these people go to Columbia, every day that they go to Washington, they're making laws all day long.
Right. And then you look in the case of our federal government with our new president, God bless him.
Yeah.
He's been there just like you have said over and over again in the past year. He's been there long enough now where he should be able to pass laws that are in the best interest of the American people, but they won't bring them to committee.
Yeah.
They won't, you know, like the old PBS, you know, what's a bill?
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of that, they won't send him the bill. They're so it's the worst. And he has to do everything by executive action, which ironically can be changed with a signature upon the new presidency.
Yeah.
So nothing seriously ever gets done.
Right. You're exactly
for the
right.
benefit of us.
You are right, Sean. Absolutely. I appreciate it. And that's the difference. And Sean really hit a good point here. It's control over the individual. That's what the Democrats want. That's why they're called Democrats. That's why the Republicans are called Republicans. You see, the Democrats believe in democracy, which means the majority wins. So if we all took a vote if we all took a vote and we said it is completely legal that every day right before the show, I get to go take a souvenir Greenville Drive or Spartanburgers baseball bat, one of the little ones, and I get to hit JJ in the head. Everybody for that, just one time before every show, everybody that is in favor of that, raise your hands. All right, we have the majority. It is now legal for Charlie to pop JJ in the head with a baseball bat before every show. But JJ's got no say in that. Majority wins, right? In a democracy. But under a republic, JJ actually has some rights. And I am prohibited, as much as I may want to, from time to time, from popping JJ in the head. That's a huge, and boy, I tell you what, he was absolutely right. They want to control the individual. Let's talk to Larry up in Cleveland County. Larry, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, sir. I just want to bring up a few topics. This stuff they're trying to push in Minnesota to teach these kids this diversity and equity and all that.
Yeah.
Is it actually been proposed, or
No.
are they just talking about it?
They're going to do it. That's the curriculum starting next school year.
Well, my question is where's the parents at in this? How come the parents ain't raising Cain and saying, I'm not having this? How come it's always just sitting by and taking it? I don't get that.
Well, all you got to do is look. Even look here in South Carolina. How many parents actually get out there and vote in the school board elections?
True. Is it everybody's just scared to voice their opinion and what's going to happen? Or
Just can't be bothered to vote.
That's crazy.
Just can't be
How hard is it?
bothered. Right? Either that or they go along with it, Larry, and I'll never understand that. I appreciate it, pal. Thank you. But in Massachusetts, there is a group of high schools that everybody, all of these parents want their kids into. Now, you may think that these were the uber liberal high schools. You may think these were the ones that were teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion, and were actually holding the kids up to a high academic standard, but you would be wrong. In Worcester, Massachusetts, they've got some schools there. The hottest high schools in the area are technical high schools. Hundreds of kids are competing for admission. The waiting list is between 600 and 800 students. It's the school to go to. That's according to Funbay Fatok, 18 years old, who graduated as valedictorian back in May, now attends the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. These are kids that are being taught actual skills to go out and get jobs. Enrollment in these programs has grown 25% since 2012. Two-thirds of graduates pursue post-secondary education, according to a book published by the Institute. Vocational programs, long seen as places to silo academic underperformers into blue-collar work, well, now they're the hot schools. Now, 5,000 to 10,000 students fill waiting lists statewide, according to the Massachusetts Association of Vocal Administrators. Demand is so high that in May, the state said it would require trade schools to go to a lottery system for ninth graders starting in the fall of this year. A lot of them already do that. That's a good idea. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James. I mean, after all, how much politics can you put in a transmission? It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of non-stop breaking news and stimulating talk jumpstarts every hour on the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas. Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go to Chuck in Mills River. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing all right. I just want to say, for the record, in the 6 o'clock hour here, that I would vote against you hitting JJ in the head with a baseball bat at any time.
Would you really?
Show or otherwise.
I thought that would have been unanimous.
Well, yeah, it was just like Socrates. He got voted to death. He didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
well, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Think about it. Socrates.
Yeah.
He got voted to death.
Yeah.
Man. You can't.
That's right.
That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I'm not totally for the death penalty. I am in certain instances, but I'm technically more pro-life than a lot of pro-life people.
Yeah. Well.
Because I don't believe the government can't balance a checkbook. Can say a man needs to die. But anyway, I hope you had a really good Christmas. It was a long week without you hanging around, dude.
Man, I
was
tell you,
working
I
so
forgot
many
how to
jobs.
get to work today. I'd use my GPS. I had to use my. So anyway, but it was a good. I needed a bit of a vacation there, and so I see. You know, that's the longest stretch I've been off in 5 years. That was the longest stretch.
That's good for you.
Yeah.
That's good for you, man. I hope you had a good time, a good Christmas, and all of that, man.
It
And,
was
Happy
very
New Year
good.
Good. I'm glad. This is like the worst Christmas I think I've ever had, but that's okay. I made
What?
it through, and here we are.
Oh no.
Oh no. That's it. No, it was that. No, it was just joking.
Okay.
But anyway, I did want to touch on the Somali thing.
Yeah.
Because people think. I mean, this is not an isolated thing. This is not just the Somalis.
No.
Where do you think the Somalis got the idea from?
Yeah.
And that's what the Democrats have turned into. They're almost like not an employer so much as they're literally giving these people money because they know they'll vote for them.
Yeah.
They're literally like it is like a business structure to do nothing but build votes.
Yeah.
By giving them free money and that's but. Anyway, I haven't watched the videos. I've seen little cuts and pieces of it and what you've played today, but it's pretty horrible. But it's by no means just in Minnesota.
No, and
over
you're
the
exactly right, Chuck. You're exactly right. I appreciate your call, and if I don't talk to you, and I'm sure I will, Happy New Year. It is not just Minnesota. There are 5,000 of these facilities in Washington State. 500 of them are run by Somalians. Listen to this. No physical address. Either no hours of operation listed or it's listed as 24 hours. And they're all getting the subsidies. They're all getting government subsidies. And I told you earlier in the program, if you came to me, or we found out tomorrow, that the fraud being conducted in this country on our federal government with our taxpayer dollars, if you told me that it totaled up to $1 trillion, I wouldn't even bat an eye. Wouldn't even blink. Because I know it's true. Absolutely know it's true. 100%. Look at all that we got. $48 billion worth of fraud going on in Obamacare. That's money they just can't find. They don't know where it is. We got over 42 million people on SNAP benefits. We got all these people on Medicare and Medicaid. We got all of these people who some of them don't even exist on Social Security. We got multiple people on Social Security numbers. We've got the Somali fraud. And here's what Tim Walz is trying to do. Oh, this, it's not just one ethnic, not just one ethnic group that's doing this. So he tries to say that, he tries to defend the Somali community, but actually he tells you that there's a hell of a lot of fraud going on in Minnesota that he knows about. But the main perpetrators, if you looked at it, the main perpetrators are the Somalian community. But just like Chuck said, they're being trained by someone to do this. You don't just, and Ron Johnson said it today. He's going to be bringing Nick Shirley before Congress to talk about this before his committee. They don't just come here not knowing anything about the system, and all of a sudden they're able to game the system. That just doesn't happen. Somebody is teaching them how to do this. And I'm pretty sure that somebody or those somebodies are making a hell of a lot of money off of it. And a lot of that money is going back to the Democrats. But again, I mean, if you sent me to Scotland, I couldn't go to Scotland and figure out how to game the system unless somebody told me how to do it. Let's go to Roger in Taylor's. How you doing, Raj?
Charlie, when you talk about things like this, it gets my blood boiling.
Yeah, should.
What are you doing right now? You're working.
Yes.
And I get out and I work every day.
Right.
And we're not making near what these people are stealing.
Yeah.
And they're doing nothing.
Right.
But living off the tax dollars. I'll write here in a couple months. I'll write the federal government a check.
Right.
And where do I know that money? People are stealing that money.
Yeah.
And the sad part about it is Washington probably won't do anything about it. There'll probably be nobody's went to jail, and nobody will probably go to jail.
And here's the thing, though, Roger. I mean, I just told you earlier in the program that some of these people, one guy was caught $7 million worth of fraud, and a liberal judge in Minnesota, a jury found him guilty, unanimous verdict. He was guilty of fraud in Minnesota, and the judge let him go.
Yeah, Charlie, the only thing we can do is pray every day.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Charlie.
I appreciate it, pal. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable what's going on. But again, tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to find out a lot more of this is happening. And a lot more excuses are going to be made by Tim Walz and people like that. So, there you go. All right, folks, we are going to get out of here. It was a great first day back. We'll see you right back here tomorrow as we get ready for the new year. As always, we love you. God bless. Buckle up. Bye, y'all.
When he's not mowing his yard, he's mowing down.